Hi writers, the purpose of this video lesson is to talk you through and review how to format in-text citations in MLA. So as a reminder, this is a supplement to the textbook reading. The textbook reading on MLA citations includes examples, different special cases, and what to do in all types of circumstances, and also shows you visually what these citations look like. So please make sure you've read the assigned textbook chapters as well. So first of all, an in-text citation is essentially a short clue that guides your readers to the full entry on the works cited page. So in the text itself of your paper, these are in the parentheticals. We sometimes call them parenthetical citations, the in-text citation. So the in-text citation includes any mention of the author, any mention of the source it came from, and then that parenthetical citation at the end of the quote or paraphrase. Of course, there's also the works cited, and this is the second half of the citation. But what's really important about the in-text citation is that it should lead your reader to the works cited page. So it needs to be like a one-to-one match. Whatever you put in that parenthetical citation needs to be the first part of the corresponding citation on the works cited page. So for example, this one here is cited online behavior. Apparently this one did not have an author, so instead they've included the title of the source. So online behavior as a source should take me directly to online behavior here. So whatever you put in the parenthetical citation needs to match whatever comes first here. The norm, however, is to use the author's last name. So you can see here, Kamenga here. Then I should be able to scroll down to the alphabetical works cited page and find that source here. So the purpose of these in-text citations is to direct the reader toward the full entry on the works cited page. We know that MLA in-text citation should also never sound sort of clunky or awkward, so for that reason we use blending and signal phrases. And we also call them parenthetical notes or parenthetical citations because they generally come in parentheses in MLA. So keep in mind that, again, citing sources in MLA means the sources in a paper have to be cited both in text and on the works cited page, and those need to match. The basic standard MLA in-text citation includes two pieces of information, only these two things. If the source has an author and the source is paginated or has page numbers, the in-text parenthetical citation looks like this: author's last name, space, and then the page number. Please notice there's no P period for page, there's no PG, there's no word page, there's no comma between these two things. It's just author's last name, space, and page number. Pretty simple, really. Keep in mind, too, if you have something like a scholarly article, it is probably paginated, but you may need to find the PDF and open that. So when you're looking at it on the library page, there should be a little button somewhere that says PDF. And when you open the PDF, you'll be able to see and cite the page number. So keep that in mind. So parenthetical references, again, in practical argument around these page numbers. There are other special cases. So for example, what do we put in those parentheses if there's two authors of the work? What do we do if there's no listed author? What do we do if we're using a quote that's a quote in the source we found instead of the author of the source? What if there are no page numbers because the source is not paginated, something like a New York Times article? What if it's a really long quotation? So keep in mind, practical argument has examples for all of the special cases that you might encounter. Please use your textbook as a reference. Let's talk about a few of those special cases that you're more likely to encounter. If you have an online source with no pagination, it does not have page numbers. Some professors may ask you to count the paragraphs and include the paragraph number instead. MLA actually does not tell you to do that. So instead, you use only the author's name, just like this. NPR reports that 25% of students feel more tired on Monday mornings. That is a paraphrase, but we're still citing it. The author of that article is Jones, so we just put Jones. We do not need a number if the source is not paginated. Another potential example of a special case, if you already use the author's name in the signal phrase, as we often do. According to Sam Jones, 25% of students feel more tired on Monday mornings. In this case, we don't need to repeat Jones because we've already used Jones in that exact same sentence. So instead here in the parenthetical, we can just put the page number if the source is paginated. There is this, which often happens when we have used the author's last name in that signal phrase and the source is not paginated. Well, in this case, there's actually nothing else we need to put in the parenthetical, so we would leave the parenthetical off. We already have all the information we need in the actual sentence. If it makes you nervous to leave off a parenthetical, you can repeat the author's last name again. It's not necessary. We actually call it oversighting, but you can if it makes you feel more comfy. But you can see here there's just no parenthetical citation at all. If the source does not have an author, in this case, again, remember, it needs to still match. The parenthetical citation still needs to match whatever would come first on the works cited page. If there's no author, the first thing is going to be the title of the article itself in quotation marks. And so we use the title of the article itself in quotation marks. If it's a long title, we use the first few words in quotation marks. Again, that's just not to break up the smoothness of the quote. It doesn't want to be long and clunky. So here we have Monday on campus. If the source has two authors, we put both authors' last names, Jones and Martinez, and then the page number. Of course, if it's not paginated, we would just put the two authors' last names. If the source has more than two authors, we use et al., which means and others. So Jones et al. And again, this just prevents us from having to list out all of the last names. Sometimes there's like 10, and that would really break up the fluidity of our writing. So et space all period, and then the page number would follow. This is also something that students tend to run into. It's fairly common. We call this an indirect quotation. So for example, I'm reading an article and that article is quoting someone else, and we want to use that quote. So we call this an indirect quotation, and what we do is in the signal phrase, we use the name of the person who said the quote. So for example, if I was reading an article written by somebody and they were quoting like Martin Luther King Jr., we would still give credit to Martin Luther King Jr. in the signal phrase. Martin Luther King Jr. said, quote, I have a dream. But then we would need to quote our source, the source we found that quote in. So we use QTD, quoted in, and then the source that we read here. And the reason for that is because the parenthetical citation always has to match the source on our works cited page. The source on our works cited page is not Martin Luther King Jr. because he's not the author of the source we read the quote in. The source is the article itself where we found the quote. So we use quoted in and we abbreviate quoted like this. Here are some examples of some of these special cases, and we can take a look here what we might put in the parenthetical citation. So for this one, you can see human health effects of wildfire smoke. This appears to be a PDF, and it's not in quotes because it's a long work here. PDF is considered its own publication. Then we have Health Canada as the publisher. So here we could do a couple things. We could consider Health Canada almost like the author, but if we did that, Health Canada would have to come here. Remember, whatever you put in the in-text parenthetical citation has to match whatever comes first on your citation. So here we would, instead of an author's last name, because there is no one, human health effects, I would probably choose just these first three things. Oops, what's this? Box. Get out of here, box. Okay, and it's not going to be in bold, but in italics because it's in italics here. It needs to match. This one here, Wong H.S. Philip. So last name is Wong. It looks like we don't have any page numbers. So for this one, the parenthetical citation would simply be Wong. A couple more special cases here. Frank, Caroline, Josh Alba, Harrison Ford, Dominic Johannes, Susanna Breck. We have several authors here. So remember what we do here is just the author's last name, et al, meaning and others. This is also paginated. So whatever page number our quote came from, we would include that as well. In this one, we have two authors. So the citation here, Best, David, Best, and Marcus. And then whatever page number, it is paginated 1 through 21. So we would put the page number the quote came from. Ta-da! This would be such as an indirect quote. So remember, according to blank, this is where in the signal phrase we put the actual person who said the quote. So here, let's take a look at this example. Although the lecture has been used with a reasonable degree of success for hundreds of years, citation, today's lecturers feel they must increasingly compete for student attention, citation. Now keep in mind, the citation here is in APA. So the text we're reading has cited in APA, but our citation is going to be in MLA. So for this one, remember the person who said the quote, that's Bugeha, goes in the signal phrase because we want to give credit to the person who said it. Today's lecturers feel they must increasingly compete for student attention, and then we're going to get quoted in the source itself is here. So this is quoted in McVaugh, and then we would put the page number that quotation came from in our text. Just like that. So I hope taking a look at some of these special cases is helpful. Remember, the default is just the author's last name and page number. But if those things aren't present, or if you have something like multiple authors, you can use this presentation as a guide. But also remember, the textbook contains examples of all of these special cases so you can visually see and have a guide for what to do. As always, please let me know via email if you have any questions.